In this video, I am going over my best tips for you when it comes to moving faster through footage as a video editor. Now, these tips could apply to when you're searching through a lot of B-roll or when you are just editing a rough cut of a podcast or a YouTube video with a lot of talking, like this one. You cannot let yourself get distracted by the content of all the talking, and you gotta stay on task so you can move through the edits and therefore your day faster. So let's get into it. Know what you're looking for. This is fairly specific to searching through B-roll. Maybe you have a ton of footage that you're looking through for a wedding or a documentary. Well, it's important to have a vision in your mind already of the kind of clips that you're looking for. And of course, you can view the clips in grid view on your project window, so you can kind of get a wide sense of everything that you're having to work with. Now, you can also reorganize all the footage by labeling them or putting them into separate bins, depending on the kind of B-roll that they are. That may help you as well. It seems counterproductive to moving fast rather than what you currently might be doing, which is just jumping right into the B-roll, but it may help you in the long run if you're working on a big project. Now, here's the key here. Once you hit play on that piece of B-roll, first of all, don't hit play.
Stop it.
And don't hit play and just watch the whole thing through. Just scrub through it. Find the action or the camera movement that you are looking for. Intentionally place your ins and your out points in the source window. Then throw it in the timeline, or if you want, do a separate timeline specifically for your selects. It doesn't always have to be so perfect and analytical, especially when you're really just getting the bulk of the cut together and there's time to fine-tune it a little later down the line. B-roll selects can sometimes be kind of a grueling process, so it's best to fly through it as fast and as efficient as possible. If we haven't met yet, I am Colleen, and in this channel, I help you to get a video editing job, and I help you get paid doing what you love. So if you like talking about video editing or freelancing or creativity, I'd so appreciate if you could, one, hit the like button below if you are liking this video so far, and I'd so appreciate if you can hit the subscribe button below. Read the waveforms. I cannot suggest this enough if you do not already do this. If you're editing things like YouTube videos like this one, or podcasts where there's a lot of talking, you will move way faster through the footage if you are editing by looking at the waveform, not by looking at the footage. Most of the time in videos like this, you really only are looking for mistakes, or pauses when you are making cuts through the base layer of the footage, which is me talking. But you barely even need to watch the video playing if you can just see on the waveform that breaks are coming up as it's playing. After doing this so often, you may even be able to detect what an waveform looks like, and it can kind of speed up your editing process even more. This, of course, allows you to move faster through the footage because you are seeing things happen almost before they play on the actual screen because you're able to read the waveforms properly. This is also especially helpful if you're running on a slow computer. Like if I'm editing on my laptop, which is way slower than my desktop, of course, turn off the video so I don't even see it, and I'll just edit that base cut by looking at the waveform because that's all I really need to see and hear. So if you don't already do this, I would definitely try it out. It is one of the #1 things that I use to be a relatively fast video editor, so I definitely encourage trying it out. Master your trim shortcuts. It's one thing to know your shortcuts. It's another thing to master your shortcuts. If you can master your trim shortcuts along with your basic shortcuts like select, razor, zoom, you can fly through rough cuts and basic edits. Now you can change the shortcuts to whatever you want, whatever's gonna make your flow better on your keyboard. My trim to playhead shortcuts are Q and W. I think those are the standard, at least on Mac computers. And those are what I'm mainly using when I'm cutting in the timeline. Q will cut and ripple delete everything from the left of the playhead up to the playhead, and W will cut and ripple delete everything from the right of the playhead up to the playhead. Once you get used to that rhythm of cutting that way in the timeline, it saves a substantial amount of time rather than A, doing it manually, and B, doing it in the source window with ins and outs points. So if you don't already know your shortcuts, learn your shortcuts. Become a super viewer. Another way to speed up your editing process is to literally get used to moving faster through footage. When applicable, play everything on 2x speed, which would just be hitting L 2 times. Get really good at being zoned in on what you're listening to so you can listen for mistakes or ums or breaks or anything that you want to cut out. You can do it at 2 times the speed. Not only does this literally speed up your editing process, but it also, I think, prevents you from getting distracted from what the speaker is actually saying. Say you're editing a podcast about a certain subject. If you play it on regular time, you might find that you get lost in what the speaker is saying and you forget, hey, I'm supposed to be editing this. It really helps keep both your ears and your eyes incredibly tuned in on what you actually need to do to get the edit done. And it increases your attention to detail, which is always great. Perfect your own process. Whatever you decide your video editing process to be, practice implementing it and perfecting it as much as possible. Even now, there are still times in my workflow where I think, hey, I should really make a template out of this video because I keep making the same kind of video over and over again. Or hey, it would really speed up my process if I did things this way. But then I forget the next time that project comes around and ultimately I never improve. I know it can be hard because you may not have consistent work or the same kind of projects coming at you on a consistent basis all the time. Well, another tactic might be to just keep a notebook or your notes app up at all times whenever you are in an editing session, and just try and always remember to jot down notes about your process, things you'd like to improve upon for next time, so that you can remember to implement them the next time this comes around. The most important thing here is just to be very hyper aware of everything that you're doing as a video editor. Be very in control of all the motions and processes that you are doing on a daily basis, on a minute by minute basis. Just be very aware of them, because awareness leads to ideas, leads to strategy, and ultimately leads to change in your video editing process. Take advantage of markers and labels. An easy way to increase your speed as a video editor can simply just come down to being more organized in your project. After all, knowing exactly where things are, which is which, what you've already used, can lead to you moving through footage way faster than you would before. Consider labeling your footage different colors if it's going to help you differentiate between various types of B-roll or shots or whatever. Use markers to mark points in the video as you're doing your rough cut, and have those markers indicate where you're going to need to add a graphic or a piece of text so that you're not searching for it later in your process to then add that in again. It definitely took me a little bit of time to get used to the markers and labeling process because, probably like a lot of you, I started as an editor just wanting to jump right into the edit and to get my hands on actually doing some editing. And I didn't have a plan or a process at all. But if you can go into the edit as prepared and as organized as possible, it will save you a lot of extra steps moving forward. Now that you've got some tips of your own on how to move faster through footage, check out this video next where I show you more tips to edit like a pro. Again, if you like this video, be sure to subscribe for more tips on video editing, creativity, and freelance lifestyle. Thank you to my team. Again, I am Colleen, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Have the best one.